9 o'clock, everybody. Wednesday, the 13th of April. My name's Thane, Kirby. Welcome to Talk Back. It's a real pleasure to have the number one political podcaster in the country on the show tonight. Martyn Bradbury, welcome. How are you?
I feel very excited being number one. I believed deep down, Thane, that it would take at least 20 episodes for us to get to number one, but we did it in 17. We did it in 17 episodes.
17.
Knocked the bastard off.
Congratulations.
So, feels great.
It must feel like, who are you up against? Tell me you squashed the spin-off.
Yeah. We squashed
with all that government funding.
All that juicy, creamy taxpayer dollars. Not 1 cent to me. It's outrageous. But no, it feels good.
When are you expecting the calls from New Zealand on air? Are they coming?
Well, I just think that we've the whole show has been where the bestest weekly political podcast that isn't funded by New Zealand on air. And I think it's more beneficial for the brand now that we don't take any New Zealand on air money.
Wow. Okay.
I think I've snookered myself into a position. It's credible, but it doesn't make any money.
Hey, so I haven't told you, but I'm in the middle of studying real estate. So I'm
going
to real estate. I'm becoming a residential salesperson, and I've just noticed that obviously what the OCR they've taken.
Oh yes, 50 basis points up.
So inflation's going, everything's going up. But I notice a lot, like real estate is pumping right now because everyone's trying to get rid of their homes. There's a lot of homes. They're not going to auction. They're being sold right now in New Zealand. I mean, this is big. Everyone's trying. Is there an exodus out of New Zealand? Real estate's going through the roof right now. I'm in the right business.
It's going to be, I think, a very... I think the reality and where we are economically and politically right now is a realization that we have a very hard and heavy economic thud about to occur. And I think people who may have had a couple of houses as part of a property speculative portfolio, such as is now the middle classes of Aotearoa, most middle class people also have a rental on the side. And I think that there is a realization that the vast ocean of debt that many New Zealanders took on to be able to buy housing in a very overheated market, the ocean of debt, the gravity of that true debt is about to start being realized. Now, we just jumped 50 basis points this month. The economists and the banks are already predicting another 50 basis point jump next month. So what that means for the average mortgagee, first-time home buyer, they're going to have to find $200 extra a month this month just to cover the increase. And next month, they're going to have to find another 200. And when
if you're on a fixed rate, you should be okay, right? But
but this is the problem. The majority of New Zealanders, about 70%, are changing their mortgages over this year. So people will be coming off a very low rate of maybe 3.37, 3.75, might have got in at 4, and then they're suddenly going to be looking at, something in the vicinity of maybe 5.5, maybe 6. There's going to be quite a leap. And those inflationary pressures are only going to continue. And if Adrian Orr is to have any chance, Adrian Orr being the Reserve Bank governor, if he has any chance of putting brakes on the inflationary pressures that are occurring right now, the orthodoxy of the economists is that he's got to push the interest rates up even higher. So we are already looking at another 50 basis points next month. I'm suggesting that there's going to be another and another and another and another. And I don't think Adrian Orr has any option but to continue.
You're saying 8%. You're saying 8%. Are you saying she's all going up? Inflation's going to go to 8%.
Oh, I think that it will. Jesus, look at the food inflation prices out today. 18% year on for fruit and vegetables.
What, for me, in my little small me household shopping, 192 is now 216, 220.
Right.
Same shit,
Yes.
but what the
Yes.
fuck?
Now that's happening everywhere, and it's only going to increase because there are huge issues with the war in Ukraine. The Ukrainians and Russians produce 30% of the world's wheat. That's all gone. That's all out of the market now, and you're seeing wheat going up 60%. In China, their zero tolerance towards COVID policy is seeing massive shutdowns of all the ports. So you're getting huge supply chain issues coming out of China at the moment. So we have supply side inflation, we have wartime inflation, and you've got a Reserve Bank
However,
governor
Palmer,
who's
can I just
desperate.
say, man, the banks are still making billion-dollar
Oh,
profits.
and this is the most despicable thing. And this, my friend, is the thing that every New Zealander should start getting very angry about. As you start to feel the pain on your pocket, as more money has to come out of your pocket to just keep even with repaying the fucking debt that you had to take on, right? As you are doing all of that, those greedy bugger banks just all collectively banked about $1.6 billion in profit for the last 3 months. The last 3 months, brothers and sisters.
And also, I feel a little bit guilty because I just saw in my statement online, $10 annual fee, and I was just like, oh well. It's either going to you or Pornhub. Fuck. Jeez. Oh well.
So what all of this entails is there is going to be a very sharp and ragged pull down on house prices and valuations. And people are going to try and get out of the housing market very, very quickly. This is going to be a very unique opportunity for first-time home occupiers. And I think that to help that process along, the government may well have to step in and act as some type of guarantor for first-time home buyers if they're owner-occupiers coming into this market, to give them some type of protection, because I think we're going to see an economic wipeout by the end of this year that will be a unique recession.
So just for the commoner who's just tuned in for the very first time tonight, OCR goes up, inflation goes up. What does that mean for our mega poor? What does that mean for somebody who's getting $235 on the benefit, $235 to $500 a week? Their rent is $300 a week. They're living and paying their bills. Their food bill is $45 a week. What does that mean for the lowest?
For those people, this is where they go from being desperate to being in panic.
Yeah.
They can't move any of those costs around. They're not getting any extra money. The food costs will only go up. Petrol costs will only go up. All of the services that they're trying to use, they will all go up. The government tried to offset some of this on April the 1st with increases in welfare and increase in pension and increases. So there is an attempt by the government to offset these costs. But when you're looking at such extreme and unique events that are occurring, that's going to spark this next wave of inflation off, there's very little the government can do to stop these external pressures causing
The
it.
Singers government were really banking on the fact that they were pumping up the tyres of benefits and throwing some cash at families.
Oh yeah.
A nice lead up to the 2023 election, but it's like, this is really shit canned. She shit the bed on this, right?
Oh no! I think it's legitimate, and people are feeling it in their pockets. If you ask commuters, people who use public transport, Jesus, public transport is some of the biggest cost to people's wallets. They have immediately gained back half of that cost, and I think that where I think the government has to start planning is how can it go about fully funding certain services which reduce a cost for everybody, because tax cuts aren't going to do it. We've got real economic problems looming. how do we look after everyone? And I think those ideas like GST or fresh fruit and vegetable, I think the idea of the government taking a 30% shareholding in the supermarket duopoly to permanently lower prices. You're going to have to start thinking about ideas like that. First $10,000 is tax free, so things like that to try and offset what is coming, because these are going to be quite unique times. People are already feeling frail and bloody bitter and angry and fire up over the smallest shit.
But also, what we're underestimating here is that for our most poor, when you are left with no surplus at the end of the week, not even $5, the apples on your next door neighbour's property are going to look appetising, and you're going to ask the kids to climb the fence and go and grab some apples. I mean, there's going to be crime going up. Now, crime is at a high point right now. Gangs are on our back. Meth's being forced down up our noses, or however it's put out. Crime's going to go through the roof. My trailer, I got a trailer outside. It got stolen. I mean, the shit's going down. It's going to get
you're absolutely right, and this is where I think the sudden attack on Labour, that they're being too soft on crime, misses things. Labour isn't being too soft on crime. What's happening is we are going through the psychological impact and the economic impact of COVID, right? We're still trying to recover from being locked down for 2 years, economic, socially, mentally. Some people are just losing their shit because this is them processing the last 2 years and it's exploding. There's need, there's anger, there's pent-up frustration, and it's erupting all over the place. And I think that we can be too harsh on people for erupting because of the unique stresses they've been under. And there has to be, I think, a lot more compassion and kindness to one another to just try and take the pressure off. Because of course people are going to lose their shit after 2 years of being locked up and economically stressed out. People are losing their shit all over the place in different ways, in different varieties. Sometimes it's violence, sometimes it's just snarky evilness. People are losing their shit all over the place.
Poto Williams, not a good week for Poto.
Oh, another shocker on the rocker, isn't it? Jesus wept.
She's in trouble. She's drowning. Someone throw her right.
She's so drowning. She is. She is. It's been a terrible week. I think Poto Williams was trying to downplay the narrative. Bloody crims need to come down hard on them. The usual rhetoric, law and order nonsense. She was trying to dissuade that narrative and instead just sounded completely out of touch, not knowing what the bloody hell's going on. There is a looming gang war that's erupting in New Zealand. We need to have a clear intelligence-based review of how we're going to deal with that. What you have for the first time in New Zealand's criminal history is thousands and thousands of 501s deported to New Zealand, that many of them, not all of them, but many of them are far harder and heavier criminals than we have domestically in New Zealand. And they are bringing with them a standover tactics and violence that the local domestic gangs just can't compete with. The Hells Angels last week just had another drive-by of their HQ. If you are doing drive-bys of the headhunters, for God's sakes, one of the alpha gangs of Auckland, if you've got the balls to do that, and this is the third time their HQ has had a drive-by, by the way, the Australian 501s are forming criminal syndicates. They're doing standover tactics of the domestic gangs, and they're importing meth from South American cartels, who are another uber level of violence, right? So they're coming in with a money, with a product that's cheaper and better quality than what's being created here by the domestic gangs, a heaviness, use of violence and weapons that are completely outside the norm of what normal domestic gangs would use. And so what is required?
We're talking about gangs. We're talking about Poto Williams, and Poto never wanted. She second guessed this position as becoming the police minister. She didn't want it. She's done some fantastic things for Māori and Samoan communities, Pacific Island communities. She was an absolute superstar on that. She took this over. She's dropped the ball because it is a complicated
Yes, yeah, as
Huge.
I was explaining, right? There are some complicated, unique
Huge.
events going on, and she's just not down over this. And it looks incompetent. She has to go. She has to go.
Will, yeah, she has to go. So that's what you're thinking, Prime Minister's going to
Oh,
have to
oh
let it.
yeah, no. She's wounded and she's bleeding heavily, and the sharks are circling. I mean, Jacinda she should look at a cabinet reshuffle, and Poto's has to go.
Now's the time to do it. Right,
Yeah.
Easter, come back. Big news Monday, Tuesday. Okay,
Yeah.
orange light for Auckland, orange light for New Zealand. Hospitality are loving it, but you still got people saying, oh, too soon, too soon. What's going on there?
I think that what Hospo are looking for from this orange level isn't. It's not like Hospo right now is
Mm.
having its door kicked down from people trying to get in. People are still psychologically freaked out by the virus. And I think that what Hospo is looking for from the orange setting is a psychological message to New Zealanders and to the Hospo, people who want to go out. It's a psychological message to say the government now thinks it's okay. And that's what they're aiming for. And I think that if they get that, then they'll start getting more people coming out. But I think that what we've seen in other countries is that there becomes a group, 25, 30%, who are just now permanently homebodies and who won't go out and who socialize in very, very small, tight circles, social circles.
You are virtually describing yourself.
Well, I'm I'm one of them, but I think that there is but I was always solitary.
Yeah.
That's by the by. But I think that that's the problem for Hospo, and they're just wanting a psychological element with the orange.
Darren Fortune from our comments says masks indoors question mark, more chance of catching COVID at ink bar than countdown. And I suppose for some people, shopping is a mandatory, right? You're going to go there, and our most weakest New Zealanders, old people, people who have got all kinds of flus and diseases, are going to go shopping. They can make a choice not to go to ink bar. So
Well, yeah, that's the exact difference, right? The people going to ink bar are going to be younger, and we've seen that this disease really is only a problem. Really, on the large scale, it's for people over 70, and
yeah,
it's for people who are obese, and it's for people who already have some existing health issues, right? So that's where it's taking. So 70-year-olds are going to go to the supermarket. They still need protecting, right? But 70-year-olds aren't going to be going to ink bar. Young, strong people with robust immune systems and hopefully triple vaxxed. They can go party the night away.
Okay. David Seymour buying his followers. Any follow up on that? I know you had him on your show.
They can't work. They say they can't work out what happened. It would. I mean, if they did buy themselves bots, it would be a really stupid thing to have done.
Yeah.
Because it's so obvious and it's easy to catch out. My thinking is that the bots now are so sophisticated and en masse. As soon as they have a right-wing candidate that they can echo chamber stuff from, they just swarm. I think that's an indictment of the system rather than Seymour being a corrupt crook.
Ryan Abbott says going to Orange makes me not want to go out. I've got too many responsibilities. I'm perhaps going to train from Auckland to Christchurch, then to the West Coast, the South Island this Christmas. Other than that, I'll just be flying around the nation, blah, blah, blah. So there is a sentiment, there is a sector of New Zealanders who are totally not into it and see we've kind of like done this a little bit too soon because Hospo have had that quiet, passive-aggressive elbow to the neck on the government, right? They have been.
I think the problem here is it's going beyond a health and safety issue anymore. There are some people on the left who have made being COVID aware and following everything that Ashley Blomfield says as part of their identity. as much as people who refuse to be vaccinated now make that their entire identity, right? It's like either side of the debate. And I think that it is very difficult to argue that we should continue to have mass civil liberty restrictions over a virus that is, as bad as a cold, but won't impact the vast majority of people it comes into, it infects. I don't think that you can continue having those kind of crushing restrictions on economies and people's civil liberties when it gets to this level. But for some people, they have bought so into the whole thing of their identity being follow everything the doctor actually says. Now that Susie, Dr. Susie Wiles is tut-tutting and the other experts are tut-tutting, they're kind of these people who have made it their identity all about this are now sort of thrown off balance, and you're getting people just digging their heels in for ideological reasons rather than pragmatic and actual practical reasons.
Okay. So Sue Ashley Blomfeld is resigned. Two other people, maybe three from the staff, are going the same way. What's going on there? Any word on the inside there? Is this political pressure? I don't think he's done anything wrong. I think he's had a
Oh no, Jesus, no! It's just the exhaustion of it, right?
Yeah.
You are having to be on the whole fucking time,
Yeah.
and if you screw up, it's the entire nation's health and all of the goodwill that has been built would be on your watch. I mean, the fact that he's been able to do 18 months of it should, I think, just be a salute. He looks older now, and it's only been 18 months. I think he's done an incredible job, and stepping down, it's just he's buggered. He's
He is
buggered.
buggered, isn't he? He deserves a bloody break.
You imagine being on call for working 12 hours a day for the last 18 months, endlessly.
I heard he's a complete asshole though in real life.
Oh, maybe. Who knows? But sweet Jesus, he has done an incredible job. I think the history books will look back and be very much more kind to him than the criticism he got in the moment.
Soon, someone will say, I bet the podcasts will look back and say he's been a top bloke. Fraser Graham, as a teacher who has had to teach classes to 25 with a mask, it is such a problem. Roll on the no more masks.
Oh, well, I mean, can you imagine the difficulty for teachers who are trying to explain ideas and to teach children, and you can't read their facial expressions, right? I mean, how difficult the interaction of learning must be with those face masks. Oh, my heart goes out to teachers and trying to teach in an environment that is unsettling and as difficult as the current one is. You will see that the masks for children at level orange is recommended but not mandatory. So they can have that interaction, and I think that the desperate need to socialize some children. I mean, there will be some kids right now whose memory of their earliest, formative years has all been submerged in pandemic response. We're not sure of what that kind of impact and desocialization over a long period is going to impact.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, Putin, as of 7 o'clock tonight, said he will, and I quote, he will, says the war in Ukraine will not end until it's reached its full completion. This guy is nuts deep and killing all those motherfucking Ukrainians. And I think we've just taken 400 Ukrainians in the last couple of weeks. What the hell?
Okay, so I think that I said that Putin would invade, and I made the call based on the coup in Kazakhstan in January. I think that Putin and his interior strategists made the decision, screw it, the West is always going to try and screw us over. They're encroaching. What we're going to do is we're going to take the Ukraine, we're going to hold the Ukraine, and let's just rock and roll. I think Putin was looking down the barrel of him turning 70. He's looking at his own legacy in terms of other great Russian leaders. Does he leave Mother Russia stronger, or does he leave it weaker? He sees himself as part of a 1,000-year Christian tradition that goes back to 998 in Kiev, when Vladimir the Great baptized 1,000 Russians in the Kiev River, right? So he sees himself, Putin sees himself as the inheritor of that true 1,000 Orthodox Christian faith. And I think that his idea is he's going to challenge Western hegemony once and for all. I think the Ukraine is the start. I think he's going to start causing trouble in Bosnia-Herzegovina. I think he's going to start causing trouble in Iran. I think that he sees Russia winning if there is chaos throughout the world. And this is only the start. And I don't think markets have really got their heads around what an ongoing war with Russia actually fucking looks like. And it just doesn't stop. It just keeps grinding. And he intends now, I think, to take the entire eastern of Ukraine, including the Caspian Sea coastline. And I think that he's going to try and take Odessa as well.
What is the largest lake in the world?
Pardon?
What is the largest? This is the most popular pub quiz question in
Caspian Sea.
That's right. The largest lake in the world is Caspian Sea, and he plans to take that.
Yes, wow. Yeah. So, and remember, from a Russian point of view, the Russians have been trying to get a inland port access to the Caspian Sea since Peter the Great's day. So, if Putin could pull this off, he does something that not even Peter the Great was able to achieve. So it's all on the table for him. He is all in. And I don't think we've got our head around that. And I believe that he will absolutely use nukes to get his way on this.
Okay. Oh, fuck. Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a long weekend. Yeah.
Happy Easter.
Road's all ahead, and the Maoris have got themselves another holiday. Matariki.
I just think that this is such a beautiful moment, genuinely, in New Zealand history. Here is an Indigenous festival, a celebration, an Indigenous holiday, a celebration, and it's being shared with Pākehā New Zealand. Mm-hmm. And I think enough parents around New Zealand have gone to a Matariki now. The school has the Matariki, and they go up at 3 a.m. and stand and look at the stars, and they speak about anyone who's passed, and that chance to sort of review the year and say goodbye to people we loved and have lost, and welcome the new. And I think that it's given people, Pākehā particularly, who have gone in and tried it out for the first time, I think it's actually touched them. I think it's made an impact. The way that, like, singing the Māori anthem before the English anthem in rugby, something, it's actually quite deep. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that here is us maturing as a country. Yes. I mean, a Māori festival is being celebrated and gifted to the nation like this. This is the promise of the Treaty of Waitangi. This is a cultural treasure being shared, and I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful.
I love it. I love that you think it's beautiful.
Yeah,
and you know what it is, and you know what, I love holidays. So
well, I mean, I just think, if right now, let's be honest, there are quite a few whānau and friends of ours who have disappeared down some crazy fucking rabbit holes and have believed some crazy fucking shit, right? And we've been alienated and isolated from them. And I think that if we want to start re-knitting things and healing things between different parts of our neighborhoods, different parts of our whānau and things, then things like Matariki, shared events that everyone's invited to come along and mix and mingle and murmur and connect with each other, those are the ways you actually start to re-knit and rebuild and bring people back from the edge. And if you're not going to invest in the actual time to do those things, then you can't bitch about society splintering into 1,000 different bloody shards of reality. You actually have to invest in the shared time. You have to.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Bomber. Have a great long weekend.
You too, my friend.
Are you doing some kind of Easter thing for the family, or what's you
I've never understood why we celebrate the death and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ with chocolate bunny rabbits and eggs. I've never connected the two. Resurrection.
This Friday, he's been nailed to the cross. On the Sunday, he's back up again. He's back on the pool table.
And we're gonna commemorate that with an egg.
Very expensive egg as well, you know. They're like $8 this year.
Oh yeah, they're not cheap, hey? They're not cheap.
They're not cheap.
Hot cross buns have surprised me with the cost. It's like, oh, you used to be able to buy like armfuls of hot cross buns for nothing more than a couple of notes. But now, I've got to mortgage a house.
Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate your time, and go, and congratulations once again on New Zealand's #1 political podcast. It's called The Woken Group, and you can watch it, everywhere?
Everywhere, bro. Everywhere.
#1. We'll see you next week. Thanks, mate.
Sure.